Hello everybody and welcome back to Rattlesnake Canyon. Mike here with you again as always. Now today we have another new animal in and a little bit of an information on keeping them. So what we have, haven't had one of these for an absolute age, certainly not as babies and certainly not in this particular morph. It's a very new one to me, this one, morph wise at least. So it came into us from our supplier today, this morning. And there we go. It's only a dinky little thing at the moment. That's going to grow quite sizable. There we go. I don't know whether you can see it all that well because it keeps wrapping around my fingers. What we have here is a Florida kingsnake. This is a peanut butter variant, allegedly. I'm guessing that's obviously down to the coloration of it. So the Florida kingsnake, there are two variations within Florida. You get the standard Florida, which is Lampropeltis getula floridana, and you get the South Florida or the Brooks King, which is Lampropeltis getula brooksii. This one I've got labelled as a Floridana, so looking at it, I'd say that that's how it will stay. The brooksii have much more yellow to them in the normal phase, whereas the Florida or Floridana tend to be more dark with yellow banding. This one, as you can see, has got the dark, or would have what would be the dark markings. It's also got some gorgeous little orange speckles in the side of it. I'm not sure whether you can see those very well. Again, within the Florida complex, you do get various other morphs with higher reds and high orange and things. So they are a really, really nice snake. Now, Floridana are one of the larger of the king snakes. You will be looking at these getting to around 4.5 to 5 foot as an average. And they're quite a chunky, heavily built snake. We would recommend a minimum 48 by 18 by 18 vivarium for these. Preferably a 4 foot by 2 by 2, 48, 24, 24. They're typical for king snakes in that they eat practically anything they can get their mouth around, including at times their owner's fingers. Overall, their temperament, as you can see, is generally quite steady. Diet for this one at this size will be small rodents. It will be eating pinkies. Ultimately, as an adult, it will go on to large mice, possibly as a very exceptional size, a small rat weaner. But personally, I'm not a fan of using rat weaners for the colubrid side of things. I keep popping out of focus there, because I think they're just too fatty for them. So I tend to keep those for the larger snakes. As I say, with the kings and the corns and things, they're a medium-sized snake mostly. So these guys, like I say, they come from Florida. They will grow to 4 to 5 foot, and they're quite chunky with it. King snakes, as you'll possibly be aware, are known to be cannibalistic. Now, I've never bred Floridas, bred Callies regularly, and I've bred the Ruthven's Kings, which are a different type of, they're a sort of borderline between king and milk. Introduction with breeding can be a bit troublesome, but generally they're not too bad in that respect. King snakes are in the EU listed on the invasive species list. In the UK, we're not part of that list at the moment, or not part of that the addition to it. So king snakes are perfectly able to be kept. I know when kings got added to the EU list, a lot of European breeders were unfortunately pushed out of keeping the animals that they had kept for years. The basis for them going on to the IAS, the Invasive Alien Species List, came from population on Gran Canaria, which had been growing rapidly, and due to the damage that they were doing to the native lizard population and the native snake population, then they were proposed by Spain to go onto the invasive species list, and that was passed. King snakes, as I said, will eat anything they can fit in their mouths. So it's not just your standard rodent diet. In the wild, they would eat rodents, they would eat birds, they would eat lizards, frogs, snakes, all sorts of things, really. Like I say, if it's big enough or small enough for them to eat, then they'll eat it. This then, obviously, when it comes to the invasive species list and the invasive nature of the snakes, does cause a slight problem, because with their variable diet, then they do become problematic from the point of view of damage to native species. But there we have it. Lampropeltis getula floridana, the Florida King. This one, peanut butter morph. Okay, I'll label it as such. This little fellow will be ready to leave us in about 3 weeks. We'll get some food into him. As always, we give a minimum of 3 feeds to all snakes before they leave us. That way we can be certain they are eating well, and we can guarantee their feeding. It's come to us from one of our main suppliers with a feeding record showing that it's had 10 feeds with them. But even so, I tend to prefer to have our own records of that and our own experience with the particular animal. So there we have it. Beautiful little snake, and one that's definitely not seen much in collections now. A lot of the king snakes have faded out in collections, but over the next few weeks, I think I'm going to try and get some more of different types in. So let's get some variety back into what people are keeping, rather than it just being the bog standards, the corns, the royals. Let's get some more interesting stuff, shall we? I'm sure we can push through with that. So thanks for watching again, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.